With the momentum that anime has at the moment, the worst thing they could do is change course or switch up their creative process and derail from what makes anime so attractive. However, sadly, certain hints of this occurring is already happening, with the news I spoke on in former videos with Toei Animation now focusing on overseas markets, specifically North America and China. A move I do understand if you want to bring in more revenue, especially when your own country is facing a population crisis. So by default, that's less money being made. But instead of serving more of what is already popular in these regions, meaning the Japanese sauce we all love to consume from anime, they're choosing to work with producers in these regions to make specific content they assume will be tailor-made for its fans. So that's how you may get a Netflix Devil May Cry anime hardcore fans are upset with, and understandably so. And this quote coming from Toei themselves. Fumio also noted that Toei was looking to work with Chinese producers to create local IPs, which will be regarded as Chinese content rather than imported Japanese content. That is a red flag. And on top of that, which is why I'm making this video, new censorship laws in China could possibly ban some of the best anime. Now, before I get into how that can affect everyone despite not living in China, these censorship laws include stories about overthrown governments and middle school romances. Can anyone think of some anime that may fall under that category? Yup! Some of the top tier ones, I would say, as this article mentions some such as Full Metal Alchemist, Attack on Titan, Dan, Full Metal Panic with my waifu Chidori. I can't imagine not receiving that gem of an anime. That third season specifically spoke to me when Sosuke was going through an existential crisis. I heavily related to that at the time of watching it, but I digress. Now, my fault. Now, I'm not too surprised by this because China is heavy on the censorship already, especially with the overthrown government themes. Them being a communist nation, you will own nothing and be happy, and government controls every aspect of people's lives, and people quickly get disappeared if you dare criticize.
It stops right there. And it continues right here.
But let's not go there. So I'm not surprised that they don't want to glamorize that narrative. Now, how does this affect us? China being a big market that Japan wants that dollar from, this could incentivize them to change or create their stories from the inception and origin that prioritizes their taste instead, which we all then will receive. Something that Hollywood started doing decades ago with so many action flicks and superhero movies, writing and directing with the intent to cater to their market and censoring little things out that producers bend over the desk backwards for, like Top Gun removing a Taiwan pin from Maverick's jacket, having John Cena doing what looked like a humiliation ritual, apologizing in Mandarin for recognizing Taiwan as an independent nation separate from China when his Fast and the Furious movie came out. Little things like these dictated how our market was ran. Hell, even the NBA, when custom jerseys was a big thing like a couple years ago, you weren't even allowed to type in "Free Hong Kong" on your jersey when ordering a custom-made one. If that can happen to us, the biggest consumer market in the world, imagine what that can do to Japan. That's very concerning.
There's this one book called Sleepless in Hollywood, The New Abnormal. Like, it's got a lot of really interesting stuff about this whole new emerging market thing that's going on. The international audience used to count for 20% of the business of Hollywood. By 2008, it had come to be 50%, and then in this short time, it has evolved to 70-30, and now is soon to be 80-20. I think a lot of it also comes down to the fact that people aren't going to see movies because they keep seeing remakes and reboots and sequels, and people are just tired of it. I think specifically the millennial audience is tired of it because we grew up with the best fucking shit around, okay? Like, you know, you don't have people in America buying movies anymore. They're not going to the theaters. So because of that, you know, you have this emerging international market in China and in Russia and other places, but mainly those two. And like, these people, they've never seen fucking movies like we've seen movies. And so the Chinese market in particular has grown 400% over the last 5 years. I mean, they're getting ready to have more theaters there than they do here. And they also have an emerging middle class that they've never had before who has disposable income to go see these movies, okay? Like before, like people, even if they did have movies coming out, there were so few theaters and there was so few people who had money to see any of these movies that nobody was seeing them, okay? So now you have things like, well, it signals to me like why we're seeing so many remakes and reboots, okay? Because if you think about it, right? So China's never seen Independence Day. China's never seen Ghostbusters. China's never seen like RoboCop and like all these other movies, right? Like they didn't have them back then. Or Jurassic Park or like all the things. So you see like Hollywood people, they go, wait a minute, So if these guys haven't seen these movies, and these movies, we know they're good. We know that people like them. They were successes. Like, these have followings and shit like that. Why don't we just remake these movies, and then go sell them overseas, because that's where we're making our money anyways. And so that's exactly what's happening.
And here's a list of some more examples. Doctor Strange, the Ancient One, was reimagined as a Celtic woman, and Kamar Tai was moved to Tibet to appease Chinese censors. Red Dawn, the remake of the 1984 film, initially depicted a Chinese invasion, but after Chinese officials saw promotional photos, the invaders were changed to North Koreans in the final version. Craig's Bond movies, Chinese cuts removed scenes where Bond fought Asian antagonists. Pirates of the Caribbean 3, Chow Yun-Fat's character was cut from Chinese for this list goes on. We've been bending over the backwards for a good minute, it seems. Jesus. But if Japan switches up their content as we have for the sake of China to gain more access to their market, that's going to do them in even more, because China is becoming a huge competitor when it comes to animation, as it's referred to over there as Donghua, I think. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And even though they are also suffering a birth replacement rate, it's nowhere near as severe as Japan is, so their labor force can outpace Japan's once they really get a grasp on how to navigate this animation industry as it is, because they see how popular anime is, and by having this law, they can cut out a lot of their competition from Japan just by that, by having leverage like, if you want access to our market, cut that and edit this out, destroying what we love from anime. Then they can come in with their own animation like this one. China's next hit anime is on the horizon, and its epic animation is threatening Japan's monopoly. And just from this poster alone, it looks good. I'm interested. Supposedly it's an isekai, I think, drawing inspiration from Japan already and their ideas. Like, all of this adds up. And I know Scissor 7 isn't an anime or looks like one, but it's actually a really good story that comes from China. Check it out if you ever get a chance. Shit, even with video games like Black Myth Wukong, deriving straight from Chinese mythology, doing over 20 million copies shortly after it released, despite almost being extorted by Sweet Baby Inc. and facing massive smear campaigns from journalists because they refused to kowtow to the woke mob and politically correct types. They maintained their cultural stamp, cultural identity, and succeeded because of it. Then in Japan, you had the new head of a massive popular franchise like Final Fantasy saying they're dropping their Japanese cultural identity to prioritize the global audience. Like, all of this puts so much in perspective for me that raises red flags and makes me concerned, because I love anime and I just want it to remain as is.
But another problem with that is that when you do take something and then you have to go translate it and make it over there, okay, like, you can't have, like, we have so many colloquialisms, we have so much slang, we have so much weird fucking humor over here, like internet humor, like, changes all the time, like, it's nuts, okay? They don't fucking know anything about that. But you know what people universally do know about is, like, a butt joke. Oh no, my butt's showing, and like, ha 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 ha, because that's funny. Everyone in the world knows that when someone's butt's showing, that that's embarrassing and that's funny. There was another joke that Jeff Goldblum did where Thor's brother is like, did you pee your pants? And he's like, yeah, I peed my pants. And he's like, I peed my pants too. And it's like, pee-pee jokes. That's a universal joke. Pissing your pants. Everyone around the world understands a pissing your pants joke, okay? So that's why we're getting the movies that we're getting. International audiences are influencing what movies we're going to see.
But that's all I have for this video. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. What do you think of these new censorship laws coming from China? And what anime can you think of that falls under these categories? Some of the best in my opinion. And if you haven't already, check out my music on Spotify, links in the description. If you love those Samurai Champloo, Lo-Fi, Boom Bap vibes, then my music is definitely for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Free think, peace.